I'm not saying you shouldn't study for ITC, but incorporating ITC on a weekly basis throughout CTA meant that towards the end of the year and closer to ITC, I didn't have to study as hard as I would have had I not been practicing throughout my CTA year. Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's your girl Precious Malepo, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the little things you can do throughout your CTA year to prepare for ITC. What I did to jump straight into it is I was part of a study group, and in the study group we decided to incorporate ITC past papers in our weekly workload. So I know this might sound tough, especially because you're looking at your workload, and especially because you have 4 subjects of coursework to get through, lectures to get through, slides to get through, as well as question bank. But we also incorporated ways in which we could manage it. So the first thing that I did was find a study group, and I would suggest finding one that is not too big, so kind of keeping it intimate so that you can actually get value of a study group. Because as soon as it gets too big, I feel like you lose that one-on-one touch to a study group, and also you just lose control of the whole study group. So my study group had 3 people in the beginning, and then there was a 4th one in the end, but around 4 people in my study group. So what we decided to do is to do 2 question papers per week. So we went onto the cycle website, we went to the ITC papers, and we selected 2 papers that we were going to do. On the cycle website, like, the ITC papers go all the way back, like really back, I think into 2013 if I'm not mistaken, but you have a whole lot of material. So we started all the way back, but not too far back, because we still wanted to get the sense of how they test, and we kind of thought that if we went too back, then surely the testing might have changed, assuming the examiners might have changed, or just the style might have changed. So we did 2 question papers per week. The one question paper was the question paper that we would actually sit and do. This might seem tedious, and you might think I don't have 3-4 hours to actually sit and do an ITC paper. So what helped me is to actually divide the question paper throughout the week. Let's say, for example, on Monday you do the 20 marks of the question paper, the next day you do the 15 marks of the question paper, or whatever it might be. You don't have to overthink it. I think the important thing is that you think of how you would answer it. You don't have to now answer the question to perfection and to the T. Just think of how you would answer it and write out something so that you can remember your thoughts regarding how you would answer it, so that you can discuss it with your study group. The second paper was for exam technique, and this is super important because you need to see what are they incorporating in the exam technique. How do the markers mark? How do they expect you to answer? Time, pressure, let's say, for example, if they ask 15 marks, how much time that's required, how long the answer looks, etc. That's a big one. So one question paper we actually did. Second question paper, it was to study and learn the exam technique of how the examiners ask questions and how they answered in ITC. So we did this every single week from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. Obviously, things got tense. There were times where we didn't have enough time to actually sit and do a question paper. So these are the things we incorporated when we were low on time or energy. So first of all, like I mentioned, I would split it into different days. So where I did have a whole lot of workload, I would split the ITC paper into different days. Let's say I'll do 20 marks on Monday, and then 5 marks on Tuesday, then 15 marks on Wednesday, write it all out. Then come when we meet up with my study group, we would discuss, all of us, what we came to as an answer and why. A second thing that we decided to do when things were really hectic is do half of the question paper. So let's say, for example, when we're approaching exams, or when just the workload was really hectic, we'd be like, okay, here's the ITC paper that we want to do. It's out of 80 marks, but we're only going to do 40 marks this week, and then we'll do the other 40 marks next week. And then the third thing that we would do when we were tired or we had a whole lot of workload, we would take some time out of our schedule to sit down and think about what we would write in the question paper, and then we would discuss with each other, okay, how would you have answered this, why would you have answered that, and then we would compare it to the answer or the solution. So we were super consistent with this. We did it throughout the whole year. Obviously you're gonna have days that are really tough and you have like a whole lot of workload, but that's why we incorporated those few steps to still have that interaction with the question paper and ITC past papers without actually sitting under time pressure doing it. Towards the end of the year, we did make sure that we really incorporated that time pressure and the studying the exam techniques. And then the beginning of the year, it was more on the theory, on what they expected us to know, etc, etc. So beginning of the year, theory. Towards the end of the year, we looked at the exam technique and how they wanted to answer, how much information they're giving for a 10-mark question, etc. Myself and my study group met up once a week. We met up every Saturday evening, not too late, not too early either, because we wanted to do some work throughout the day. And it was really fun. I feel like it's important to be a little bit strict with each other as well, so that you can encourage each other to really put in the work and not slack. And just, you know, find serious people for your study group. And if you feel like someone is not pulling their weight, maybe call them out. But trust me, if everybody is working in the study group, you already feel pressure, you feel embarrassed to rock up when you haven't done anything, when everyone else has. Another thing that I really enjoyed about my study group is there was a time when we were going through our past papers that we'd actually written. So let's say, for example, I think it was the April paper exam that we wrote. We went to fetch our scripts from the university and we really went through it on the study group call, sat and said, okay, who got this question right? And then if someone in this group got the question right, they would talk us through like their thought process, how they answered it, etc. And we would actually take notes and compare how we answered it, the ones that got 0, compare that to the person who actually scored the marks. And yeah, it was super, super, super helpful. We all eventually passed CTA, which is great. We all passed ITC as well. I'm not saying you shouldn't study for ITC, but incorporating ITC on a weekly basis throughout CTA meant that towards the end of the year and closer to ITC, I didn't have to study as hard as I would have had I not been practicing throughout my CTA year. I hope this video helps you guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Bye.